During this project, I was assigned the production role of writing the safety document and the programme. This was the role I felt comfortable with as I enjoyed creative writing and was very confident with creating these documents. My first thought regarding the programme was to give it a vintage circusy look. I was given the brief that it needed a little bit about the show without giving too much away, a cast list, and headshots. It had to be no longer than an A4 sheet of paper. I initially thought I would have a list of the cast with their headshots neatly next to them. However, when I put this into practice, the names didn't line up nicely together due to the differing lengths of the actors' names. To overcome this, I put the headshots around the programme in the same order as their names to create a neater page. The safety document proved more difficult to create, as this needed to be within the theme of Happy Diablo's Circus of Fun rather than the bog standard safety contract. I found this rather difficult as I was struggling to word it within the theme without it sounding silly and unprofessional. I enlisted Tia to help me start it off, as once she started the first sentence, I went from there fairly easily. I feel as though I did the programme well, as when I showed it to Lottie and Lois, they both said that it was rather good. I was unsure how small I should have the headshots. I wanted them all to be uniform to create a finer programme. Lottie suggested the size I had made her headshot was the best, as it was small enough to fit nicely as a border, but big enough to see. I took her suggestion on board and can confirm that it was in fact the better choice. I think I did reasonably well with the safety document. However, it was decided that there would be a little bit of safety info on the ticket rather than an official contract. We were faced with many constraints during this project due to cold weather causing a rise in COVID infections. Unfortunately, we lost our technician to COVID and then 3 of our actors. We overcame this by hiring a new technician and understanding the actors. By having to hire a new technician, it meant we lost valuable practice and characterization time by having to go over the route and lighting, etc. with the new technician, so that they were up to speed. It also meant we had to spend a little extra money. Due to the unforeseen spending on a technician and spending a lot of money on props and costume, we had to learn to source the rest of our items required by spending very little to no money. This proved difficult as much of what was needed proved rather difficult to make. However, lots of the items actors had at home, like tapestries, cauldrons, blankets. Another constraint we had was the inability to use fire within the project. This was a particular shame, as I had many ideas for this project using fire, such as having some kind of fire pit within the cult scene and having little lamps with candles or oil lamps in the hallways to light them rather than standard lighting, to show off that the circus isn't very modern and has a creepy feel. Fire is very effective aesthetic and adds a nice feeling to performances, particularly within the horror genre. It is also cheaper than using stage lights and has a more naturalistic glow. To get over this, we limited using smoke-related products to outside. This creates a nice effect, particularly within Jasmine scene, when placing an incense cone within the cauldron and putting the lid on slanted, it allowed the smoke to curl around Jasmine and the cauldron. A personal constraint I have struggled with during this project is my lack of time management. This came up as an issue, particularly when it came to theory work surrounding the project. I feel as though my rehearsal journals and research are lazy and could have been done better due to me leaving them until the last moment instead of doing them on time and instead of doing them on time when it's fresh in my mind. As a result, I feel as though my context video was not thorough and clear and as it could have and should have been. As I'm unable to change this issue for this project, I am going to take this as an opportunity to improve my work during the next project. A constraint we also had was the weather. Due to some heavy rain in the previous days leading up to the horror walk, the area where we performed the ritual was damp, slippery and muddy. This meant that not only was it a health and safety risk for the actors involved, but it also meant It also meant they left tracks whenever they went indoors. To get over this, we put cardboard down over the mud to create a safer, cleaner environment for the actors. We also put in the health and safety brief that the audience were required to wipe their feet on the mats provided upon entering an indoor space. Another constraint we had was due to the motion sensors within the college, we were unable to hang anything before the day of the performance because of the potential to set off the alarms. To cope with this, we laid out as much of the set as we could beforehand and hung and added any minor details such as blowing up balloons, etc. on the day. This saved us a lot of time on the day, providing us with ample opportunity to rehearse and perfect our scenes. The audience had many needs that were required to be taken into consideration during the project, such as accessibility, underlying conditions, and underlying conditions such as epilepsy. To accommodate these things, we put in necessary measures such as a safe room, J166, and ensuring that there were lifts available. Lifts available where the stairs were. And having warnings within the safety brief that there would be indeed flashing lights and how to identify who the staff are who would help should an issue arise. Many of the staff members are epilepsy trained. We ensured the safety briefing was detailed so that the audience were fully aware of all potential hazards. Over the last couple of days leading up to the final performance, we looked at all the scenes and transitions, ensuring there were no gaps or places where the story dips, allowing for a more enjoyable, immersive experience. Overall, I feel we met all the audience members' needs well due to the careful planning and clear communication and calm procedures. The performance was in the style of promenade. This is a good style, particularly with this project, as it allows the audience to become more immersed within the experience. It also allows us to create a more interactive performance. Personally, I think having a performance in the style of promenade makes it slightly easier on the actors involved. This is due to the audience moving around the space rather than them being seated and the stage constantly changing in the theatre, allowing for more elaborate sets, more time to perform and perfect content. I feel as though I could have done more research within this project. I believe I used the research I did do particularly well. Such as speech, lisp exercises and articulation exercises. These things helped improve my clarity and my ability to project confidently. I also researched how clowns conduct themselves. This played a big part in the games I played within our piece and how I wrote the lines. I feel as though I could improve upon my vocal performance in regard to screaming and projection. I tend to scream using my throat rather than my diaphragm. This is bad as it can damage your vocal cords and strain and hurt your throat. Tash has an excellent diaphragm scream and has been giving me tips on how to execute this task. I find that I struggle with physically performing in a certain way, as I like to go away and practice something on my own before showing it off to a group. Lottie is fabulous at walking creepily and having that clown-like appearance. I've taken some notes of her and added them to my own performance in an attempt to create a stronger piece. I find learning comes very easily to me. It usually takes me only a few moments for me to learn a section, whereas others struggle. I believe Tia did extremely well to not only learn her own set of lines, but then understudy Trinity and learn her lines in such a short space of time, and then relearn them after she got cut and put back in. Our lines changed a lot and fairly frequently when new things were added and things were taken out. I feel as though I kept up with these changes well and learnt my lines quickly and efficiently. I feel as though we connected with our audience well and were able to scare and invest them within the story. When the audience didn't listen to instructions, we were able to assert our irritation without breaking character. I feel as though we coped well with the audience, particularly when things went wrong, such as fire doors going on lockdown and when audience members appeared in random places they shouldn't be. I think Meg was exceptional at handling the audience and filling in roles where things went wrong. Overall, I think we used the production schedule atrociously. We only looked at it once in the entire project. Next time I'll make an effort to remind everybody of the schedule and ensure we take time to look at it as a group and hit deadlines within good time.